one of the only, I must say, one of the only remakes from an outstanding legendary song that not only will I allow, you could argue it's not better, but it is outstanding. And the music video is great too. I miss music videos.
Oh yeah, big time.
They're still making them.
Saturday
but
mornings,
cares.
I'll tune in. MTV's got a
you with TRL.
No, TRL was just before my time. I would get Top 20 Countdown.
I don't even know what that is.
It's just, I mean, it's the same concept, but you take out the Carson Daly of it.
TRL annoyed me because they played like 20 seconds of the music video.
Yeah, that's stupid.
106 in Park.
106 in Park.
Big,
yeah, you were probably what when it was
Bow Wow. Bow Wow and Roxy.
Roxy. Yeah, I mean, I was
and then Terrence J. Come on, your boy. I know Terrence J's your guy. Come on.
Why
Terrence
are you
J's living your kind of life,
dude? I wish
just on stuff. Just you know,
I'm just
doing
hosting.
stuff. Yeah, you know
who's that? Oh, I don't really know why I know Terrence J. But he's
That's
here.
Exactly what it is.
That's my
I like
goal.
him. I like Terrence J.
That's
I don't
my
know
goal.
what exactly it is about him that he's just, you know.
And every time Think Like a Man comes on, I have to watch just for his line. Why don't you put some pickles on that? Why don't you put some pickles and some mustard on that burger?
Oh my god!
I love Terrence J. We got to get him on the show.
I'm sure we can find out.
You know who Jay probably knows.
Guaranteed knows Terrence J.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Who's actually just Terrence before he.
That's right. Oh, I know Terrence. Yeah. All right, let's get into
Terrence and TQ.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this Sam Amick article with DeMar. DeMar, I guess, Chris, we can say he's promoting his book that's out. So he was on First Take today. We have sound from we have sound from that. I probably can't even keep up. He's just been around ESPN today. I think today was his ESPN tour. He's doing a lot of different things. He was on the 502 podcast, so he's been doing a lot.
Jeff Teague is on Podcast P.
Podcast P as well. So he's doing the full gambit right now. But we wanted to focus on an article that he did with Sam Amick.
Yes, of course we love Sam Amick here, and you can go read this article over at The Athletic where it talks more about DeMar and kind of how he came upon this mental health journey that he's been on. Really interesting stuff that I really didn't know. In a way, I guess you could say DeRozan kind of stumbled into this as well. Like he said, he was just at an all-star weekend one weekend, and there was a big party that I think some big celebrity throws. I want to say it's Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith throws a big party every year, and he essentially was like, I just didn't feel like going to the party, and one day just tweeted out like, man, this depression getting the best of me. And then, everything really pops up about a couple months or weeks later. Kevin Love starts to come out. Michael Phelps came out at the time and was really vocal about athletes and mental health. And he just kind of really stumbled into it. Wasn't really trying to make a big statement or anything like that, but really ended up going on this really long journey. And he talks about just in general, these are more of the things that I picked out from the article. The players' access to therapy. Sam asked him essentially, since you've gotten in the league, DeMar's been in the league for 16 years now. How have you seen the league kind of integrate mental health and addressing mental health into the day-to-day lifestyle? And he pointed out that I've never heard this before. He said the infrastructure that they've started to build of making it accessible for us to have therapy, having therapists on site to travel with us on a daily basis, it becomes 100% confidential for the players. It's not somebody who's connected to the front office where the therapist will go back and say what was shared. They really built something that makes guys feel comfortable to have access to on a daily basis to have help. I've had teammates recently playing in Chicago where before practices, after practices, or even on the road, they'll go to dinner with therapists, and it really helps them out with a lot of things. I've never asked the specifics of what they talk about, but they use it very frequently. You see the connections that players have with the therapist, whether it's at breakfast before practice, laughing and joking about certain things that give the guys comfort to be able to be who they are and handle whatever business they need to handle from within. So that was really just something that I was incredibly unaware of. I didn't know that teams to that level had access to therapy, and to hear that, these guys go to dinner with their therapists and all that. I think obviously, we talk about the Russell Westbrook situation and kind of how all that plays into just kind of the mental side of basketball. You can imagine these guys going through just daily criticism and things like that, just how they've been able to deal with it. I thought that was really important. And again, you can check out more so on how DeMar himself has gone through his mental health journey and how the NBA helps other players throughout it more in the Sam Amick article. But now getting more towards the basketball stuff, Sam asked him, did it seem like this was going to be the offseason that you go home to LA and you sign with either the Lakers or the Clippers? DeMar's answer, pretty surprising. And this is, again, probably as candid as you're going to get him. He said, yeah, it did feel like this was the offseason. But after the last situation, you really don't get your hopes up all the way. I think the first time before I went to Chicago, that was the closest it had ever been. And for me, I thought it was going to be that. But when it didn't happen, I didn't have high hopes because you already know you can see how it could play out. So interesting to hear DeMar again, and I'll get into it here in a second, but might have not been the first choice was to go to Sacramento. And it's something that he's kind of been I won't say people have asked him why Sacramento, and he's always, of course, made it sound like this is the right situation. This is a great, everything linked up. And I think some of us might have assumed that, oh, okay, Sacramento, he circled Sacramento specifically. That might not necessarily be the case. Sam asks him, how do you see the King situation and what it became? We all know they're not typically on players' short list in free agency, and you've already gone down as the highest profile free agent of their history. DeMar's answer really surprised me. He said, no, it definitely took me a minute to consider them. To tell you that they were on my radar beforehand, no, they definitely weren't. But sometimes you got to let the fog clear, and to make a decision, that's what I kind of did. You try and look at the landscape to make everything make sense, and where you feel you're going to be somewhere where you're going to be getting what you deserve, and you have an opportunity to compete at the highest level. Both ends were met, and looking at it, it just felt as if this was the perfect opportunity. So there you go. That's DeMar essentially saying, no, Sacramento wasn't my first pick. I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't exactly where I planned to go, but once everything kind of happened, we played the podcast Peace Sound the other day. DeMar admits I kind of had to wait for Paul George to make his decision before I ended up making mine. So clearly, he kind of needed for situations to play themselves out before Sacramento really emerged. But I do like the fact that DeMar's not just shilling. He's not just out here saying like, oh yeah, Sacramento's great. Love what they're doing. It was always going to be a great thing. I don't see it as not a destination. He's very honest and says, no, like it really wasn't on my radar at all until everything settled and it was an option. And then as I looked into it, it really became clear and obvious best option for him. So just thought that was some good clarity on that situation. And Sam Amick also throws in there into a question. Just thought it was a good note. If DeMar scores at a similar rate for the Kings as he did in the 3 seasons that he just had in Chicago, he'd be pushing for top 10 all time in scoring. And Sam just asks him essentially, does it bother you that you're not really thought about in that same ilk? He's only 86 points behind Steph Curry in the all-time NBA scoring list. I don't think people really treat DeMar with that same level of respect. Obviously not as much of a Steph Curry, but when it comes to the James Hardens, all the names that he's kind of lumped into with the modern day greats, does that really bother him? Again, you can go check out his answer. Over on The Athletic, Sam Amick wrote an article, why DeMar DeRozan wants more athletes to open up on mental health, show their Clark Kent side.
Yeah, and it's funny, Chris, and this might seem a bit random, but as you're talking about this, everything that DeMar DeRozan has said and has done to advocate for athletes, it does get really sticky because the obvious thing, let's just get the elephant out of the room. I mean, most of them are in the 1%, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
they're going to have more money than a lot of us could ever dream of. Yeah. And the person that I'm thinking of as you're talking about this is actually Daniel Jones. I don't know if you saw that video. But basically, after Daniel Jones, just a horrific performance. But after that game, wherever the situation was with the stadium, there are fans standing outside where the players exit, and they're just letting Daniel Jones have it, right? And he's a complete joke to people. And
I mean, I don't know if you heard the Vikings player comment.
Felt bad.
He said he felt bad for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and then what's the first thing? I'm sure somebody's going to text it right now, so just hold on. Hey, he's making $160 million. I can't feel bad for you. So I do think, and again, I think here's what's interesting. We have said that we've gone back and forth with the Russell Westbrook thing and whether Brick is disrespectful or not. Right. I think we're on the same page that we don't find it disrespectful to his family or whatever it is. So I do think what I do think what DeMar DeRozan is trying to accomplish and the world he's trying to live in is that just because fans, quote unquote, have a right or feel like they can, roast someone within the lines, that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect these guys. And they got the money to go to therapy and things like that, but you have to address those things as well, no matter how much money that you're making, because I don't know. Let's assume that the stuff they were saying to Deanna Jones was inside the lines. Hey, you stunk today. Right. You lost me money, whatever it is. And we would say, hey, comes with the territory. That's why you get paid $160 million. And I do think that whole line can get a bit grayed. And I don't think that DeMar DeRozan I haven't really heard him talk about, the fans this, the fans that. I think it's more about, regardless of whether you guys are keeping it between the lines or not, we have to deal with stuff that you might not ever have $160 million, but you'll also never deal with somebody, saying that you're a waste of life or what
I mean, it might not even be fans either, right? It might just be, you guys will never know the stress and pressure of my mom's best friend's daughter, like apparently needs her kids to have braces or something like that. Now all of a sudden that's my responsibility because she goes to church with my mom and she's guilt tripping my mom, just making it sound like this is a dire situation and now it's my problem and now I need to, just things like that. And I thought the really cool thing kind of to tail off of what you said is, with all of that going on, I do think it's really tough for these guys. Yes, of course, everybody knows. And like you said, they have access and the means and the financial means to get therapy. But I do think it's really good to have these teams have it in-house as well, because it does eliminate that step of, all of us know that therapy is out there and available for us to have. And, if you're fortunate enough to have insurance and good insurance that'll help pay for it, I mean, we all know it's there. And yet we still don't access it either. I think it's really important to just eliminate that step of having to set it up and just having it available, having it be something where it is as casual as walking into your coach's office. The same way you do that, you can just go and walk into the therapist's office. And I think that's really big for these guys, especially, we can do the whole machismo. Like, obviously this is a bit of an alpha universe that these athletes live in. It's a bit tough to walk into someone's office and then, start feel bad about, some personal relationship stuff, not to just to use it as an example, but like, Kevin Huerter, maybe he's like, hey man, you know how tough it is every day walking into this building and not only, hearing it from fans, but then actually going through not being sure where my standing is with this team and, things like that. I just think it's really tough for these guys to be open and honest about their work life and about their personal life. And I think it's great that the NBA specifically, and I'm sure the NFL, I hope MLB has some level of this, but I think it's great that at least in the NBA where there is only 12 guys, right? It's a little bit more manageable for one person to see all these guys. I think that it's great that it's at least just there and available for these guys to get the help if they so seek it.
Coming up next, we have DeMar DeRozan and his thoughts on social media within the sports world. And we asked the question, we want to hear from you as well as we open up the phone line for the first time today, 916-339-1140. Has social media done more good or bad for sports? Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
Our